Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Marc Cameron.
Welcome to New Life Live, the call-in radio show where we answer your relationship questions or give you help with mental health struggles. My name is Marc Cameron. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And today I'm joined by two high-quality individuals, of the highest quality, I should say. Dr. Alice Benton.
Thank you.
Licensed psychologist, author, speaker, and Dr. Jill Hubbard. Also,
Hello.
a licensed psychologist and author and speaker. And Jill, you're going to share something fantastic with us today.
Well,
and what is that?
Hopefully it is fantastic. Well, and I always ask God, what should I share, right? Lord, lay something on my heart. So what came to mind was the idea of answered prayers. So I think so often we focus on unanswered prayers. Those are the things that bring us into therapy. Right, are the unanswered prayers and the waiting, and it's so hard to wait. And I myself Lord, what are you doing? And the one thing about waiting, though, for our unanswered prayers is that it teaches us delayed gratification, teaches us patience, teaches us perseverance, and those are all important things. But I'd like to focus on answered prayers because when we pause and we look back, and I often do this with clients when they say, oh, God doesn't answer my prayers and God's not working. It's like, well, let's look back. Let's look at your history and let's look at the ways in which perhaps God has intervened. And it's always amazing. And I think that's the same with growth. We don't always feel it when we're growing, but when we look back, we're like, oh, I'm not in the same spot. And I'm always amazed how God weaves circumstances into play of our lives, things that seem random and unconnected. And yet when you look back, you can see how he has woven things. I think it's also wonderful how when God uses us to answer other people's prayers. And I had a situation just this last weekend where I contacted a cousin that I've grown up with. Hadn't seen them in 2 years, was feeling kind of bad because we have another family member in town. And I'm like, do you think you guys could come and rally? Are you available? And immediately they said, yes, we happen to be available. So they showed up. We had this wonderful time of family members. And so interesting, we are all connected by a person that nobody has contact with any longer, by that person's choice. And just to see the people around the table and to see different healing that has taken place. But later my cousin said to me, you had no idea the day before you contacted me, and they had put their dog of 16 years down. Okay, it's not the biggest problem in life, but it's painful. Uh-huh. It's very painful. And my cousin said, I didn't want to be home. And I felt such a longing, he said, for family. Both of his parents, my aunt and uncle, are gone. He goes, I was longing for family, and you reached out to me. And immediately he jumped on it. And I just think, wow, I love that. I love being a part of other people's answered prayers. And I love seeing how God answers prayers. And one good thing about being older is that you can see things that you've been praying for 20 years. And I have seen this, how God finally answers them, and often very specifically. So it's important to remember, to look back, and to reflect, and to see not only, okay, God, what I want you to do, but what he has done, because that builds our faith.
And when he doesn't give us what we want, the no or the not yet is somehow a better answer to our request.
Well, and I heard someone say this a while ago, do we want the answer to the prayer more than the one who answers the prayer? And when God seems to be silent, there's something he's probably telling us. We're happy to take your calls today. We're going to be right back in just a moment here.
Some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. They're just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Every Man's Battle Intensive can help.
After 7 years, he just, in one weekend, came back a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
He said this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, August 10th. Don't wait for him to call. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. This is Marc Cameron, and if you didn't know, there's an events page at newlife.com, and you can see the dates and locations of our upcoming intensives and events. And we have our Emotional Freedom, which is going to be online intensive on September 14th. So if you have something that you need emotional freedom from, or you know somebody who might need emotional freedom from something, this is going to start you off on a new and better path forward. So refer them over. You can find out details on our website. We are going to go to the calls, and right now we're going to talk to Jen calling from Yuma, Arizona. She listens on the internet, which is a great way to listen to us. Hi, Jen. How can we help you today?
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my call.
No problem.
Well, I was really enjoying, listening to the program, and it's, really regarding this emotional integrity and emotional intelligence aspect. And so I have a question about where do I go from here? And so I'll try to be very brief about this. So I've grown up in a religious home, not necessarily a spiritual home. My father and my stepmother, they're actually leaders in a church for helping deal with life's hurts. And they had always been, or they always said that they wanted to be accountability partners to me. But one of the challenges has been is that while I see how they handle things with other people, which in some aspects are some similar to what we've dealt with in our family, how they handle that with other people versus how they handle it with their own family is quite different. The Bible is used and the scriptures are used to weaponize, and there are unhealthy dynamics that are in play, and the foundation has been abused, not only psychological, emotional, but physical, but that doesn't get acknowledged. And I've spent over 30 years of my career in legal and victim advocacy and things like that, but I've never had it for myself. And while I'm an educator, it's like I'm living this dual life where I spend all of my time and energy advocating for other people. But what happened is that I never had that acknowledgement or validation despite my spiritual relationship. But walking through life feeling unheard and unvalidated is very difficult, especially when people just have the assumption that you should be able to handle it all on your own. And so bottom line is it's led to a lot of heartache, not only with my father and now my stepmother, who now my father is refusing to speak to me. My biological mother, she just died a couple days before Mother's Day. And I've been to New Life counseling. I've had independent counseling. I mean, I do this for a living, so I also understand the importance of having it for myself. And so but it doesn't negate the existence of pain and exhaustion I feel from having no validation. And so, and specifically one of the things I do work with is like a lot of psychological, emotional abuse as a domestic violence victim advocate. And so when I recognize that I'm experiencing it as well, I want to be able to be in that place where I can be validated also, instead of always being the one that has the answers. And so I got cut off from my father again. And
you got cut off? Is that what you said? What happened, Jan?
Well, meaning what he does is that he will create. There'll be a situation that happens, and instead of having an honest conversation to talk about it, because it's not always easy, and he may be subject to hearing things about him that he doesn't want to hear, he doesn't want to listen, and he cuts you off, or he gives. For me, I'm his only daughter. He gives me the silent treatment. And so the problem is that I grew up when he used to physically abuse my mother. And so one of the things we always talk about is that a lot of pain comes from our family of origin. And so he can acknowledge that and talk about that to other people. But then I'm like, okay, but if you can have that acknowledgement there, I know it's difficult, but we need to talk about it here.
Jen, you have grown up with such hypocrisy that in his work, in his career in the church, he does these very things that you need from him, but he doesn't give them to you. He gives you the opposite. And this acknowledgement you're hoping for, I'm sure you wish you could get it from him and from your stepmother. Is that right?
Right. And the thing is, I know better. See, that's the problem. Yeah. I guess the thing is, I do know better, but so this is where it's leading to my question, is that, I mean, I just turned 57, and it just hurts my heart so deeply, and I know I'm not going to be able to get that from him, but it's so difficult to walk through this life unheard and alone, and one of the consequences of that is that I'm also alienated and ostracized from my children. And the reason why is that I've gone through this for so long, and I had an abusive ex-husband who happened to be a police officer who used to cheat on me. And so all this pressure of me being the one to have to be the one to stand in the gap and pray for my family and do all these things without having that love and support and some sort of gentleness, because I tend to be more of a passive, meek person, because I want to help others go through it with some sort of support. But my challenge is that I went through so many difficult things alone, and then I'm embarrassed to say so, I had a huge, huge explosion. It was like I'm dealing with spiritual warfare, and I have seen a lot of things, and it's been very, very scary, and I don't hear it talked about enough, which I'm doing my own research on that, because some of the things that I experienced, it was like out of a horror movie. It was just like I was just begging.
Yeah,
for God
Jen,
to take me.
this is a lot, and you know, as you said, your role as a job is domestic violence victim advocate, but then you're not feeling like anybody's advocating for you. Jill, what would you offer to Jen?
I hear you being in conflict, your head and your heart. You do know a lot, and I am sure you have helped a lot of people and have been really good at it because of your hurt. Nonetheless, emotionally, you're still hurting, and I'm hearing your words saying, I know I'm not going to get it from my father and my stepmother, the people that you most need it from. You're not going to be heard, and you're not going to be validated, because they are invested, right, in blocking that. So they like to be the helpers, not the helpee, which means they don't want to reflect on themselves. They want to be the people in the know. And I love the fact that you're saying, I'm also a person in the know, but I'm willing to look at me, because I can't deny that I'm really hurting. You've done some repetition in your life where you've repeated the abuse through marriage, and again with your kids. It's so hard to be the one that is lobbying for health, and it's like it all goes on deaf ears. Nobody wants to hear it. And so, Jen, you really have to start, like, you know, those of us in the helping professions, we need to do our own work. We can't therapize ourselves. And so, and when it comes to our own families, we're too close. No matter how much we know, we need someone else to walk beside us. And so to get the therapy and the help, and to start to choose people in your life who will validate you, who will hear you. And I understand you don't have the baggage with new people, but it's important to start to establish and discern who are people that will support me in a healthier life versus picking people that I'm just going to repeat the unresolved stuff with.
Yes.
And it's good that you've done some of your counseling, Jen. You have tapped into that.
Yes.
So we want you to evaluate what you need to adjust or add to the counseling that you have been receiving. And so that may mean getting back into it if you have stopped, or talking with your clinician about whether or not you should try with another clinician now. Maybe you've completed the work with that previous one. Adding in psychiatric care and making sure that you have enough brain chemical balance. Perhaps you need supplements or medication added to the counseling work. And I want you to consider group therapy, because if your family has rejected you, we really need to build a spiritual family. And that has to be beyond just the individual therapy work. And some of the most powerful work I've seen and experienced myself is psychodrama, where group members take on your family role, and they'll speak to you as if they were family members. So they will stand in the shoes of the parents that are unable or unwilling to do it, and they'll give you the acknowledgement that you need. And I just want to acknowledge, as your children have cut off communication with you, we hear over and over that the passive parent, the one that was not the abuser, but perhaps was quiet for some time as you were trying to figure out, how do I handle an abusive spouse, they are often the ones then cut off by the children who
so
can stay
painful.
aligned with the abusive parent. It's baffling. And so what pain you have been through.
Well, can I just say, it's like playground dynamics, right? People, the mean kid, people befriend the mean kid because they don't want to be the recipient of it, right? So it's a protective move.
Yeah, so good what you guys are saying. Jen, we're going to send you a copy of Jill's book, actually, Forgiving Your Fathers and Mothers. I think you are going to find a lot of good info in there. And we're also going to, if you hang on the line here, we're going to hook you up with a referral to a Christian counselor. We want you to try and find somebody who takes an attachment-based approach that is going to explore the history, because I hear you saying that you're mentioning words like family of origin. You can see that the wounds come from there. So hang on the phone, and thanks so much for calling in. We are going to go to Gabriel now. Gabriel's calling from Houston, Texas, and he was referred to us by his dad. Hi, Gabriel. How can we help you today?
Hi, I'm just looking for some advice on how I can handle a rough relationship.
Okay. What's going on?
So my girlfriend has been diagnosed with her being bipolar, and that's been a struggle for both of us. And my question to you is, how can I handle that, and how can I help her?
Yeah, how long have you been dating, Gabriel?
About 6 months now.
6 months. Okay, so not too long. And what are some of the main concerns that you see happening with her behavior? What's some of the main struggles that you would say, like, I really want to help in this situation?
Well, the two things have to be is that it's constant, like, arguing and the change of emotions. And even after we resolve things, she, like, holds the grudge. And then when that comes back, it comes back even worse, even though we already resolved the issue.
And as she received this diagnosis, what kind of treatment is she receiving? How consistent is she with getting help?
She has not taken any treatment. She just got the diagnosis, and that was it.
And how long ago was she diagnosed?
I don't know. It was before we started talking.
And you said she doesn't want to get any help?
No, she feels like she has everything under control.
That is definitely, Gabriel, problematic with bipolar, because it is a biological disorder, and it really requires brain chemistry balancing. And that's where medication interventions really help. Now, it's really common with people who are bipolar that they often go off of their meds, are often non-compliant, and don't like being on medication, because it not only brings up the bottom, but it also creates a cap on the top. And so to be within a normal range of functioning, when perhaps, depending on if she has bipolar 1 or bipolar 2, But if she has any mania, who doesn't like that? That can be really fun. But what they don't realize is how destructive it is. And in relationship, when you have somebody that is all over the map and volatile and as you said, holding on to things, there's a lack of consistency and mood modulation in this picture. And that's something that is so important. And one of the things would be to give her some feedback on what it's like being on the receiving end of that. And your concerns.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. We're going to go to Alice after the break here, Gabriel. You can hear the music playing in. But if you may not know, you can subscribe to our daily devotion. There's a link in the footer at newlife.com. You'll find some great info there. We are going to be right back right after this short break here.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I would have getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. You know, I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Dr. Heidi Summers on coaching.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between counseling and coaching. Coaches can help you with strategizing. Not everyone is in a crisis or recovering from a trauma. A lot of people just need help getting to where they want to be, and they don't know how to do that. And so it's helpful to have a third party come in to give objective feedback, set goals, create accountability, and help you walk out what your goals actually are.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been screened and certified with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches are intended to help you live in the present and goal set toward what it is you want for the future.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. My name's Marc Cameron, and tomorrow is actually the last day to register for our Every Man's Battle Intensive at the early bird rate. So you can save by registering today or tomorrow. Just do it before tomorrow to get that early bird rate here. It's completely online. It's one day. Usually the intensive is a whole weekend and you got to travel. But this is really, really going to be easy for you to access. Right now, we've been talking with Gabriel. Gabriel has been dating somebody for 6 months, and she's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But she's resistant to taking medication and seeking help, and he's just having a very challenging time in his relationship. Before I go to Alice here, Gabriel, here's a question here for you. What keeps you in the relationship? Because you haven't been together for too long here. And you're obviously very caring, and it seems imbalanced. What's keeping you in the relationship?
Well, the two things that are really keeping me, number one is the love that I have for her, and number two is the compassion and how bad I feel for what she's going through.
And are her ups and downs familiar to you? Did you grow up with somebody whose mood was volatile?
Not at all. So this is pretty new to me.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 17.
We so respect your heart that you would go to the length of calling a counseling show for a girlfriend who's tough to be in relationship with. Gabriel, you have the right desire to be of help to her, but depending on how firm she is in not believing she needs help, it determines how safe this relationship is going to be going forward, because we are most likely to do more of what we have done before. Which means if she doesn't think she has a problem and she's not willing to get help, that's the most likely future that you face. And I wish I had known something dating. We look for strengths in dating, of course. How good looking is a person? How much money do they have? How successful are they? We look for strengths. But what's so much more important is, does our dating partner know their weaknesses, and do they want to improve and grow? Do they have a life recovery mindset? I didn't learn this till a lot later in life, Gabriel, despite studying psychology, that the safest people are those who know their brokenness. They can tell you their imperfections. Gabriel, I'm a liar in recovery. I know that about myself. It's an ongoing weakness of mine. And so I'm safer if I'm willing to admit to you, I know this is my problem. This is what I do about it. I go to counseling. I make admissions. I ask for forgiveness. You know I'm safer because you know I'm imperfect and I'm doing something about it. And so your willingness to be imperfect and admit that to your girlfriend may draw something similar from her. She has the obvious character problems, and I hope she can come to agree she needs help. If she can't, then that's a huge red flag for you being in relationship with her, especially so young. But what you might try is identifying one of your own character defects, and I hope you'll tell me what it is in a moment, and telling her, I realize this about myself. I am fill in the blank, or I struggle with fill in the blank, and I think I should get some help for it. Do you know what one of your imperfection is? Are you willing to as well? Would you consider that? Even for the bipolar, you've said no before, but we both have things we're struggling with. What if we both went to get help? Would you admit to me, Gabriel, one of your imperfections?
To think about it, sometimes I lie thinking that I'm protecting somebody that I love, and that's the issue that I have.
All right. You and I, we both struggle with a similar issue with lying. Mine is to cover up my mistakes. That's what I lie about. And is it something that you would get help for, Gabriel?
If this would be, I really do feel like I understand it, and lately I've been way more honest, and I've been getting better at it. But if getting help would get her to get help too, I would most definitely be open to it.
I would try it, because before she has said no, and eventually might just have to take her at her no. This is how she wants to be, and she's not going to change. But I would try being willing to get your own help, and not just saying it. If you don't mean it, don't try this. But if you mean it, there's a possibility that she might follow your good example.
And it could be, maybe it's a mentor. If not therapy, maybe it's a mentor where you can talk about relationship issues and how you feel the need to lie to protect others, right? And where that comes from. Gabriel, I love that you love and that you have such great compassion. And I do not want you to lose those qualities, but I want you to be wise in how you dispense them, because ultimately, long term, love and compassion is not enough. And sometimes if we're can be a hopeless romantic, a diehard of, I will love to the bitter end because I want this person to feel the love. Some people can't receive it. And so this is like, taken out of context, but throwing our pearls before swine, right? We want to be able to discern if our love is kind of falling on good soil and that will produce something, or if we need to have boundaries for ourselves.
And that's a difference here, Gabriel, between the feelings of love and the acts of love. And you're so young here. This is a really big diagnosis for your girlfriend to take on, but for you to have to take on too. And at this age, my kids are 18 and 19, so I'm very familiar with this age. It's a time of exploration, and it's a time of learning, and good and healthy relationships should have balance to it. When a relationship is one person rescuing the other person, you're imbalance there. And sometimes the best thing to do is for you to learn how to protect your own heart And that's the best lesson you can teach yourself, and that's the best lesson you can give someone else. But I really appreciate you calling in. Very mature for your age. We're going to send you a book, Understanding and Loving a Person with Bipolar Disorder. So hang on the line. We'll get you those details, and we will be right back.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. I'm Marc Cameron, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Alice Benton, both licensed psychologists. And at New Life Live, we rely on your financial support, and we have a membership called Club New Life where you can do regular giving to us, and you'll be part of our club, and we'll send different resources each month. But you don't have to be a regular giver to give to us. If you feel a need in your heart today and you want to give a donation here, you can give that donation at newlife.com, or you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We were just talking with a young guy, Gabriel, who's talking about being in a relationship with a girlfriend who had bipolar disorder, and he was struggling, and we were just giving him some good advice on healthy dating. I think you had some more to give here, Alice, too.
These are principles, and many of them come from Henry Cloud's book, and a couple of them are keeping sex out of dating is crucial because sex blinds us, and it keeps us too long in a relationship, really creating a supernatural bond with the person that God designed for marriage, not for dating. And so not only does it cloud our judgment, but if we have to end the relationship, there's a tearing of flesh by ending a relationship that has had a sexual connection to it.
Well, and can I just say, it adds a familiarity without being true intimacy, right?
Exactly.
So we're not really growing in an intimate, emotional way, which we need to go the distance.
Yeah, and sexual tension actually drives the motivation to work out relational problems. And so when you introduce sex too early, some of that motivation goes out of the window to actually work on the relationship or work on yourself.
God's rules about saving sex for marriage. Oh, how boring. He's keeping us from fun. Why is he limiting us? He is safeguarding us. He's protecting us by that rule.
And what does the enemy say? But, oh, did God really say that? Did he really mean it in this situation?
Yes. A second principle is to date in community. And Gabriel had the community of his dad. When his dad said, call the show, I'm seeing some things about this relationship that are concerning to me. Because we need to have outside eyes on the relationship so that we can get feedback. And luckily, Gabriel was wise enough to receive his dad's suggestion. If we date in isolation, we tend to stay in unhealthy relationships too long because I'd rather be with somebody than be by myself, even if it's painful. And a third is to increase our exposure by meeting multiple people of the opposite sex rather than dating one person long term, having non-sexual dating experiences with up to 21 people Dr. Cloud recommends so that we get to know a variety of people before we hone in and commit to just one person.
Yeah, that can be the hard thing because especially as younger folks can want to just jump right into relationships to experience what that feels like. But it's so important to be able to understand your likes and preferences and to be able to explore different personalities because you may not know what you like or you may not know what is healthy for you. So yeah, I love that book by Dr. Henry Cloud. Great principles in there. Right now, we're going to go to another call, but it's not a call on the phone. There's another way that you can actually get a question to us. If you can't call in when we are live on the radio, you can actually leave a voicemail or you can send us a note at newlife.com/radio. And Lucy in Illinois has done that. And her question is, am I doing the right thing to ignore my sister-in-law when she preaches at me? Lucy says, I have a sister-in-law who traps me to tell me that I am a sinner and tells me how to live. She says, I've set a boundary to just ignore her because I have to see her once in a while, but it's not like me to do this to anyone. And I feel if I give her any attention, she'll back me into a corner and then tell me what a heathen I am. She also tells me that she's the perfect Christian and never sins. And Lucy's struggling with, am I doing the right thing or is there any other way to act when I have to see her? This is such a great question here. Jill, what are your thoughts on this?
So Lucy's taking the tactic of just trying to avoid conversation with her sister-in-law. And I don't know what boundaries she has tried to set in the past. But sometimes a person that constantly pursues us and goes down the same path isn't getting the hint by us simply avoiding. And so sometimes we need to say to a person, I care about you. You're my sister-in-law. I want to have ongoing relationship with you. But it's hurtful to me when all of our conversations seem to be driven by your need to tell me how to live. It makes it hard, sister-in-law, to really take the advice from you because I'm feeling judged in this moment, just to lay it out there, right? And say, is there a way we could work around this? Is there a way we could maybe accept each other where we're at and start from there? And if I am wanting advice and I am needing to have some reflection on where my shortcomings are, you'll be the first person I'll ask because you are good at sorting that out in people. But when I'm not wanting it, it comes on too strong.
Oh, that's good. That's so diplomatic here, Jill.
Well, sometimes when we just say, I'm just going to go for it, and we stay calm and level-headed, and sister-in-law, I don't know if you're aware of how this comes across to me. And we give them the benefit of the doubt. I believe your heart is in a good place. I believe you want me to live my best life.
Oh, I totally agree with you because you can only ignore someone for avoid someone for so long.
It becomes awkward and they feel rejected, so they're going to pursue even harder.
Right, and then they have a complaint when it is time for you to give your concern because of how you've avoided them. It's difficult here. Alice, what would you say?
Well, Lucy, when we are choosing to pick our battles, what is worth fighting? What's worth confronting? Some things should be let go because love is supposed to cover a multitude of faults. But depending on how those faults are affecting you, and this one sounds like it's getting to you, and even though you don't see her frequently, you will continue to see her for the rest of your life. And she sounds like she'll keep at this pattern. So if it's an ongoing problem, if it stirs up resentment and bitterness in you that's difficult to release afterwards, and if you find that you're thinking about her and how she treats you before and after seeing her, then it's having a greater impact on you, and you probably can't just let this one go because it keeps happening. As Christians, we are called to tell the truth to each other in love, because it may be that nobody's pointing out to her what she's doing. She might be blind to how negative it is to hear this from her. And so being willing to risk trying to tell her gives it a chance to change. And we all need feedback, whether or not we want it. But I would be braced if you decide to say something. Know that it may not be successful. It may be more for your character growth to say it, but she might not change. And so if she doesn't change, decide how will you protect yourself when she continues to come at you like this. The Bible tells us that iron sharpens iron, and that has to do with when we're in friendship and we can give truth to one another, sometimes it brings about good character growth. So think about it. Pray about it, come up with your battle plan if you are going to address it, and know that that will protect your serenity.
And I would also write it out beforehand and reread it, kind of get down what you want to say to her and rehearse it.
Yeah, and practice it.
Yes.
Practice it with someone, because, I mean, professional sports teams do a lot more practice than they do real-time gameplay, right? And so they create a real-time situation. And so to be able to do something in real time, you have to mimic what real-time situation looks like as much as possible. And having a challenging conversation is challenging. That's why we call it a challenging conversation. And what I would say, too, is oftentimes these situations are opportunities for us to learn. Someone once said that fire and light has two elements, that of burning and that of shedding light. So when you're wanting to run away and escape, what insecurity is that highlighting in you? And so learning to have a straightforward, and I like the way that you put it, Jill, being very diplomatic in the conversation. Something that I learned from you, Alice, was learning to affirm the relationship. When at the beginning of the conversation, you can tell somebody something about them that you appreciate, or even if it's just an affirmation of, I'd love us to be closer together, right? That grabs someone's listening ear to be able to hear what you have to say next. Because if you just spit something out to somebody with venom, it's almost like throwing a rock at them.
You have to take the emotion out of it.
Right. They're going to move out the way and not hear it, or they're going to catch it and throw it back, or throw their piles of rocks back at you. And you're not really going to get anywhere in the conversation. As a speaker, your goal is to communicate a message. But if you communicate a message and it doesn't land, then you've not really reached your goal. You may have said what you wanted to say, but has it done any good? Being right and doing good are two different things here. So practicing with someone who's safe and trustworthy is just a great way to be able to learn how to do these things. And I often do that with clients in therapy. Well, if you're looking for a Christian counselor, call us at New Life, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we can connect you to one in your area.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. I'm Marc Cameron. And if you're thinking about attending an intensive, but you think it might be beyond your financial reach, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask us about need-based scholarships. We have others who have chosen to step in the gap financially and provide those resources for others who cannot attend, just similar to the family and the community of believers who shared everything right at the beginning when the church was created. Jill, you had something else that you wanted to add to Lucy.
Well, I just wanted to add one more thought that you kind of touched on, Mark, and that is sometimes somebody who's bolder and will say things to us, even though they may be being inappropriate and overstepping boundaries, sometimes they're saying something that makes us uncomfortable because there's an element of truth to it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if Lucy is also getting a bit triggered by her sister-in-law, which is another reason to avoid. She still may not want to be told what to do or told what her issues are, but if that's happening and it's too emotionally laden for you to be able to go in and have a diplomatic conversation, then start by getting some of your own help. Why is this making you uncomfortable? What is she highlighting in you that you're okay with living the way you're living, but she causes you to have to look at it twice? So.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And Lucy, as a people pleaser and conflict avoider myself, in order to build up to having these kind of conversations, I had to get into counseling, and I had to do multiple role play therapy sessions so that I could get the courage to do what we're advising you to do. Mm-hmm. So we acknowledge it. It isn't easy, but if you do the work, you'll be able to figure out how to handle and how to implement what we're advising you.
So good. Okay, we're going to go to one more submitted question here. This is from Christy, who listens on Sirius XM. Christy's question is, how do I get over the pain of my mom getting angry because I chose not to get vaccinated and remained a conservative voter? Christy says, I thought I had a fairly good relationship with my mom until COVID. Then when COVID hit, my mom and stepdad, who has... because her father's passed away, spent much time sequestered in their home. Long story short, my mom's now changed drastically. She posted pictures with my gay sister in rainbow-colored shirts and has disowned me by letter from her will. Myself and my husband have been involved in full-time ministry at the same church for over 22 years. He's the youth pastor. I find the lack of family and loss in my life to be very devastating. When I met with my mom, I looked at her and I told her, I love you enough to have a relationship with you, no matter what you believe about COVID or who you vote for. Do you love me enough to do the same? She couldn't answer me at first and finally said yes, but over time it was obvious she couldn't. Well, I love that question, Christy, that you asked your mom. That's just so fantastic to be able to demonstrate to her what you're willing to do and challenge her to get to the same standard if she's willing to do the same. Jill, do you have a thought on this?
So many people have struggled with this in this polarized climate. And people dig their heels in and they forget what's most important. Christy, I love your heart and that you're saying what's most important is that we're family and is our relationship, not our ideas and perceptions of life. And is there room here to agree to disagree? Can I have a different opinion, Mom, and you still love me? And I think it is heartbreaking that her mom couldn't answer. And so this is a situation where you've put the invitation out there, Christy, and I wouldn't give up on the invitation. I might even repeat it down the road to say, Mom, we're still here. We're willing to be in relationship and just agree to disagree. Will you meet me there? Can we do this? And, or Mom, help me understand why this investment that you have in your principles are more important than the biological investment, right? The mother rearing investment, or the family investment, our relationship.
Christy, to hear that there's the added complication of your mom aligning with your sister and cutting off relationship with you, it may be, as I'm sure you realize, that your faith and what the Bible has to say about sexuality divides your mom. And so she feels like she has to pick either align with her daughter, who is homosexual, you said, and that means that she cannot then align with you because of your faith. And this is so painful, but we know, and the Lord even says, that his word will actually divide families. It will separate mothers from daughters. And so it may be that because of ideology, your mom can't tolerate accepting your Christianity and accepting your sister's sexuality at the same time. But I agree with Jill not to give up on relationship just because of this. And so sending your mom pleasant messages, letting her know that you're thinking about her, communicating with her, even if she doesn't communicate back. You're acting with God's hands and feet by showing her love, even though you have been rejected. But I also want to make sure you have a place where you can be angry, where you can be sad, and where you can talk through the feelings of rejection and abandonment that your mom has done this to you. And so please make sure that you're getting into counseling so that you can talk through how her rejection of you is affecting you.
Well, and I'm wondering about sister too, and if you're able to give the same invitation to sister. Because if mom is feeling like she has to side with sister, is it because sister is alienated, right? And sister is the underdog, right? And so there's a dynamic that has been created. So can you invite sister to also agree to disagree, but to stay in relationship?
And the way you phrased it to your mom of the invitation, it sounds like you really know how to balance out grace and truth well. I also want you to look back on other conversations you've had with your mom and with your sister to try to decipher, with the help of an outsider, have I been treating my family with love when we disagreed? Or were there ways I hurt them in trying to bring the faith to them? So do that character check on yourself as well.
Yeah, and if somebody does all of these great things, because I'm reading this in Christy's question here, how does she deal with the loss in her life? If you do all of these, you have the conversations, you say all the right things, and then there's still this break in relationship.
You really have to choose proactive grief, lamenting this pain and loss, and allowing yourself to feel those feelings in that safe environment with a person who's trying to understand you, not just fix you or not get you to feel better too quickly, because this is a time to lament what you are going through, and we usually need multiple repetitions of telling the stories of what we have been through in order to work through the grief and get to some of the peace that is accessible.
Yeah, all we can do is our part on our side of things. We can't control how people are going to respond to us. And we all know people who are blinded, right? And that aren't open. And that's a hard thing. So yes, that ongoing grief and grieving the relationships and handing them over to the Lord doesn't mean you stop praying for them or you stop inviting, but you put them in the Lord's hands. And it's a loss that is short of death.
Yeah, and I love that word that you use here, lamenting. I mean, there's a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations, where it's focused on just talking about pain. And some people have a very hard time with that. I was with somebody yesterday, and you could see that someone else was sharing. I had folks over, and we were for dinner, and someone else was sharing, and you could see he has had a really difficult time being around someone in pain. He wanted to jump in, he wanted to fix it, he wanted to tell them something positive that they could do. And that often leads to, something that Jen had called in about just needing to have acknowledgement and validations that her feelings are real and her feelings are okay. And so being able to get into therapy with somebody who can hold your pain, who can hold your hurt, is just so important and needed. And so if you need that today, give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We can connect you to a counselor in your area. If something that we said today resonates with you, take a step, visit us at New Life. We have books, videos, articles, groups, tip sheets, and intensives, and so much more.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.